the death toll has risen to 443, with 63 people still missing. Netcare 911 spokesperson Shawn Herbst joins us now. Thank you very much for availing yourself. We understand you've been working around the clock trying to recover and search for more bodies. Perhaps just detail for us the kind of conditions that you are faced with. We only see the level of devastation on television. No doubt a different picture on the ground when it comes to the reality of trying to find people desperately.
Absolutely. The image that thousands of images that we have seen on the internet don't do justice to what you see when you're actually standing in front of these places. It's it's absolute devastation. There's nothing else. It's the only thing I can think of. It makes you think of an end of world apocalyptic movie. It's unreal. It's just absolutely unreal. I mean, during the day that the floods had come through, there were, mountainsides the size of buses, boulders that had broken off, and we were witnessing these things, and it was just crushing everything in its path. It was absolute devastation. I mean, small streams had become mighty rivers. It's just bad, and entire families were washed away. Absolutely entire families were washed away. We were flying over the Umgeni River to try and get to some of these areas, because, as I'm sure most people know, that the rural areas were the most hit and the hardest hit by these floods. And flying over, you could just see debris. There's cars, buses, dead animals on the side of the rivers. It's bad. It's bad. And for a lot of emergency workers, it brought tears to our eyes.
Shawn, are you keeping hope alive that some of the bodies will be retrieved?
We hope. But unfortunately, the reality is that we don't think all the bodies will ever be retrieved. We've seen reports of bodies being washed out to sea down the Umgeni River, washed out to sea. There's been bodies that have washed up on the beaches. There's so many bodies that will still be stuck underneath mud. And when I say mud, I mean thick mud that could be 20, 25, 30 meters deep. It'll make recovery efforts very difficult.
What is the main focus for your team right now?
Well, the health and safety of the rescuers. The guys have been working now for just over a week, absolutely non-stop. The guys are exhausted. The guys are bruised, they're battered, and I think emotionally strained as well. And then just, to try and bring some normality back to the people that were affected, especially in the rural areas where they've lost entire families at a time. The entire livelihood has been affected, but we'd like to bring closure. That's the main thing that we're focusing on at the moment.
You described a little bit earlier on apocalyptic scenes that you saw. That level of trauma, and also having to deal with people who are frantic because naturally they can't find their loved ones. What is it that people keep telling you? I guess maybe just a story that stands out for you of just talking to somebody on the ground.
One of the things that would definitely stick with me probably for the rest of my life is when we landed at a school in Mulweni, and people were so desperate. They came up to us in the helicopter and said, look, you got to help us. There's an entire homestead that had just disappeared underneath the sludge. And, you go to where they're showing you, and there's nothing there. You wouldn't have ever thought there's a house there. And I mean, there's a whole lot of children inside there. There's a mother, there's a father, a grandmother. And it's just sad. It's just sad. And they can't even explain how it just disappeared. 1 second it was there, and next minute it isn't there.
You speak of your team being stretched, people exhausted, and of course, naturally, traumatized. You need more capacity, you'd say?
We're handling things at the moment. I think anyone, no matter where you are, who you are, could also do, always do with extra help. At the moment, a lot of that responsibility is falling on the SAPS search and rescue, as well as the local governments to assist in the recovery efforts.
Shawn, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning, and to you and to your team, thank you very much for the work that you continue to do.